It is the greatest mystery ever pursued by mankind. It is the creation of the universe itself. It is the fearful and awe-inspiring mystery known as the Big Bang. Nearly 14 billion years ago, you and I witnessed an event now known as the Big Bang, the event that initiated the creation of the universe. Prior to this event, there was no time and no space. There was nothing. Only we existed before the Big Bang, and we are not a thing. We were the original singularity of being, undifferentiated oneness, all the same, nothing. In this state of absolute subjectivity, we had no way of knowing who or what we were. When we woke up to this reality, we called out into the darkness, "Who am I?" And it is this question that brought forth in that moment the seed of all that is now, all that ever has been, and all that ever will be. And all of this is you and me. Bursting forth from nothing, we began our journey of self-discovery as pure energy that quickly formed itself into protons and neutrons. As time passed, electrons came forth, resulting in structures we now call atoms. Perhaps millions of years later, our intention to know ourselves took the form of complex molecules that found a way to replicate themselves. These molecules eventually became individual, self-replicating living cells that grew and developed into millions of different forms. Ultimately, one of these forms was born into this world as a young human being. We didn't consciously determine the development of what we now know as the physical universe. We chose only to know who or what we were, and it is this intention that drove the creation of a reality capable of answering the question, "Who am I?" It was the power of our intention that formed our energy in a way that answers our question. From the singularity of nothingness to the energy of consciousness, to being born into a human body, we have given ourselves the ability to know our true and original self. This singular original self is so vast that our journey of remembering what we are is an eternal one. What we know as life on planet Earth is a mirror that constantly reflects every detail of who we are and what we are capable of. Then, one day we were born into the physical bodies that we now inhabit. At the moment of taking our first breath, our brain was a blank slate. We knew nothing about our body, and were not even aware that we had one. We recognized no distinction between ourselves and everything else that existed. We perceived ourselves as one with everything, which is what we were and still are. Without hesitation, our parents and other humans who preceded us here began telling us how to perceive and understand ourselves and the world around us. Little by little, we began to see ourselves as separate from the other humans and from everything else in our world. We were conditioned, brainwashed, to become civilized for our own good. We were told to be careful not to fall off of chairs, get hit by a car, get burned by the stove, or put something bad into our mouths. We were programmed to see some things as green and others as red, some things as trees, some as butterflies. Everything was different and separate from everything else. Our world became differentiated, and we became separated from it and from all things in it. The older people who passed down their beliefs to us as truth had a lot of help from our genes. Our DNA contains information about life that goes back millions, even billions of years. The raw data that helped an algae, a worm, a lizard, a bird, a Neanderthal to survive is in there still, doing the same thing for us. But wait a minute. Those ancient genetic instructions and our human education, also rooted in the past, may not work very well, given that this information was designed for a world that no longer exists. Certainly, some of the data were created relatively recently and are very useful, but the old stuff is still alive, continuing to influence our way of life today. Unless, that is, we happen to see beyond the programming. The data in our DNA and the teachings of our parents and other adults help us survive. And while surviving is obviously important, we humans are capable of much more than mere survival. Our minds have the ability to self-reflect, to think, and to create. Through the power of our minds, we have gone beyond the need to constantly busy ourselves with the survival strategies of constantly acquiring food, security, clothing, and shelter. Our conscious self-awareness makes it possible for us to transcend our own intelligence, to see beyond the limitations of our rational minds. We have the means to see beyond our earthly needs directly to the essence of the true and original self that we have always been. Our true self is not separate from our personality, our ego self. What appears to us as two always has been and is now one. It is our conditioning that has us perceive ourselves as separate from everything, including ourself. And we each have the innate ability to look beyond this conditioning and open our minds to the unified reality within us and around us. Our eternal and infinite essence, our true and original self, is everywhere and nowhere. It is in and around everything that exists throughout the universe. It is at once immanent and transcendent. You are, and each of us is, the infinite one that created everything there is. You are peace. You are love. You are the power of creation, and that means you can consciously know and experience peace and love, as well as this awesome power that makes anything you can imagine available to you now. How do we see beyond these billions of years of conditioning? Teachings passed down for centuries tell us that this is the most difficult undertaking on the planet, that one must live in a cave, take on an ascetic lifestyle, live alone in a monastery or some other severe and long-term practice before we can reach enlightenment. These teachings are, however, belief systems, and these beliefs are not necessarily true. If we choose enlightenment, that is, if we choose to know and understand our true self, it is not necessary to subject ourselves to any of these methodologies unless we choose to do so. Two thoughts can be helpful here. One, knowing and understanding your true and original self is, as mentioned above, an ongoing process. There is no plateau called enlightenment where we live out our days in bliss. Input is required. Nothing occurs automatically or from out of nowhere. If you visit a cold, uninhabited home with an empty fireplace, you cannot expect to get warm by standing close to the cold fireplace. It is necessary to put something into the fireplace before heat will come out. Some kind of action, some kind of input is required on your part to achieve the desired result. In this case, you will have to put some wood into the fireplace and light it with a flame before any heat will come out of the fireplace. When you start the fire, you will receive the warmth. This is not simply a possibility. If you light the fire, you will feel the heat. So it is with our primordial question, who am I? Ask it, and you will discover the peace, power, and love that you are. The creation of this entire universe was initiated in response to this question. Everything that exists now, ever has existed, or ever will exist, is the answer. The planet that we live on, the solar system in which our planet exists, the galaxy of which this solar system is a minuscule part, and the infinitely vast universe that contains billions of galaxies is not a trivial matter. If all of this came to be in response to the question that you asked in a time before time, then neither is the realization of the answer a trivial matter. The answer is within you this very moment, patiently waiting for you to ask the question.